WTA issues historic penalty to Aryna Sabalenka over umpire bias claims against Coco Gauff. It began as an ordinary autumn evening under the shining lights of the WTA finals. The court gleamed, the crowd murmured with excitement, and two of the sport's fiercest competitors, Coco Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka, stood on opposite ends of the net, each armed with a racket and an unshakable will. But as the match unfolded, something far beyond tennis began to take shape, a moment that would ripple through the sport's moral core. Sabalenka, fiery and relentless, had always been known for her power, but that night, her emotions ran hotter than her forehand. Midway through the second set, she approached the chair umpire, her voice sharp, eyes blazing. "Why do you always give her the calls?" "Every single time it's the same," she shouted, pointing toward Gauff. The stadium fell silent. Coco, ever composed, turned away, her expression unreadable, but her heart surely pounding. No one knew then that this single moment would lead to one of the most significant disciplinary rulings in modern WTA history. The accusation heard around the world. Sabalenka's frustration wasn't new. She had voiced concerns in previous matches about perceived inconsistencies in officiating, especially in high-stakes encounters. But this time, her accusation was pointed not just at officiating, but at the integrity of the match itself, when she insinuated that umpires were biased in favor of Coco Gauff. Citing her growing popularity in American fan base, the sports world erupted. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation flooded social media. Hashtags like hashtag Gauff bias, hashtag Sabalenka storm, and hashtag WTA integrity trended worldwide. The reactions were polarized. Some fans offended Sabalenka, arguing that passion often clouded judgment in the heat of competition. Others were less forgiving, condemning her comments as reckless and disrespectful to both Gauff and the officiating crew. Coco Gauff, meanwhile, remained silent. She didn't post, didn't speak to reporters, and didn't retaliate. Instead, she went back to work, training, preparing, and carrying herself with the quiet dignity that had already made her a role model well beyond tennis. The investigation. 3 days later, the WTA announced a formal investigation into Sabalenka's comments. In a rare statement, WTA CEO Steve Simon confirmed, "The integrity of our sport and the respect among competitors are paramount. Any allegations of systemic bias, unless supported by evidence, must be treated with the utmost seriousness." Behind closed doors, the investigation was exhaustive. Match footage was analyzed frame by frame. Audio recordings were dissected. Conversations between umpires, line judges, and tournament officials were reviewed to determine whether Sabalenka's claims held any merit. They did not. According to the WTA report, no evidence of bias or favoritism was found. Instead, the inquiry revealed a troubling pattern of emotional misconduct by Sabalenka, including repeated verbal outbursts and unsubstantiated public accusations that violated the WTA's Code of Conduct, Article 4.2, Respect for Officials and Players. The penalty. On October 24th, the WTA issued its ruling. Aryna Sabalenka has been fined $250,000 and placed under a suspended 3-tournament ban for conduct detrimental to the sport. This decision follows her unsubstantiated claims of umpire bias during the WTA finals. The WTA reaffirms its commitment to fair play, mutual respect, and equality across all levels of competition. It was the largest financial penalty ever imposed for on-court conduct in the women's game. For Sabalenka, the ruling was a devastating blow. Her reputation, once defined by raw power and fiery charisma, now faced a shadow she hadn't anticipated. Yet for the WTA, this wasn't just about punishment. It was about setting a precedent. That accountability in sports must extend even to its brightest stars. Coco's silence and strength. When the news broke, reporters crowded outside Coco Gauff's next practice session in Miami. Everyone wanted her reaction. Everyone wanted a quote. She gave them 6 words. "I just want to play tennis." It was pure Gauff, measured, mature, and deeply human. Behind that short statement, though, was a young woman who had learned early that grace under fire often speaks louder than anger ever could. Her team later revealed that Gauff had received dozens of messages of support from current and former players. Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, Venus Williams, and Billie Jean King among them. Many praise her restraint and professionalism, describing her as a new standard-bearer for integrity in sport. She didn't need to respond, King said in a televised interview. Her composure was a response. Sabalenka's response. For nearly a week, Sabalenka remained silent. Then came the apology. In a handwritten note posted to her social media, she wrote, "In the heat of the moment, I said things I shouldn't have. I was frustrated, not just with the match, but with myself. I've always respected Coco and the officials. I want to learn from this and be better." It was brief but heartfelt. Some fans forgave her immediately. Others weren't so sure. Trust, once broken in the world of professional sports, takes more than words to rebuild. Still, Coco Gauff, true to form, was among the first to reach out privately, sending a short message of understanding. "We all make mistakes," she reportedly texted. "What matters is how we move forward." The bigger picture, beyond the headlines and social media debates, the WTA's decision carried broader implications. For decades, female athletes have fought for equality, not just in prize money, but in how they were treated by officials, the media, and even their peers. The Sabalenka incident became a flashpoint for a deeper conversation. What does fairness look like in modern tennis? Sports psychologists weighed in, noting how increasing pressure and scrutiny can magnify emotional reactions in elite athletes. Others argued that the incident exposed a persistent double standard, where men's outbursts are often dismissed as competitive fire, but women's emotions are dissected as meltdowns. The final rally. A year after the controversy, a WTA documentary titled Integrity, the Gauff-Sabalenka Moment, premiered worldwide. It chronicled how one emotional outburst reshaped attitudes toward respect, pressure, and accountability in women's tennis. At the end of the film, Coco was asked what she had learned. Her answer, as always, was deeply human. Tennis isn't just about who wins. It's about how we play, how we grow, and how we make each other better. That day could have divided us, but instead, it reminded us why we love the sport in the first place. And perhaps that is a lasting truth. In a game where tempers can flare and rivalries can burn white-hot, it's the moments of humility, forgiveness, and courage that define greatness, not just as athletes, but as people. Epilogue, the ripple effect. Months later, a small sign appeared near the player tunnel at the WTA Finals. Engraved in silver, "Respect the game. Respect each other. Play with heart." Coco Gauff walked past it with a smile, her eyes reflecting both wisdom and youth. Sabalenka, moments later, paused to touch the sign lightly before heading on to court. The crowd roared, the lights brightened, and somewhere in that electric silence, tennis felt renewed, stronger, fairer, more united. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.